Thank you to HUEL and Shopify for sponsoring this video. More on them in just a bit.
Coy, it's been kind of a crazy day. It's a crazy day. I'm ready to let out everything today.
Yeah?
Via
Discourse.
Discourse and Marvel leaks and what else do we have on here? Scream 7 news and Vin Diesel with a Groot movie. A personal one I want to do is The Last of Us 3. The main topic at hand, though, will be these Marvel leaks. Talk about it in the way of how people probably aren't expecting us to talk about, or maybe they are. Let's see how well they know us by this point. It's going to be a long part of today's conversation. Before we go into that, though, there's something that I do feel we have to acknowledge right up front. I'll start with saying this. I really believe that all of us here at Real Rejects do what we do because we just love movies and shows so much. I feel like they shape our identities completely. Yeah. And I think that's the way it is with so much of our audience who watches us. And I feel like there's this sort of like ESPN way or wrestling way of how we are when it comes to like disagreements or trying to tell someone they're wrong or whatever, something like that. Yeah. And I feel like what we care about is being able to just have conversations again. And sometimes that comes in the form of admitting elements of where you might have been wrong and being able to listen to our audience from time to time as well. And we were talking about this a few days ago because last week we kicked this off with talking about Disney release dates. Yeah. And we were speaking about the Andor release dates and how we were super opposed against them. I'm not exactly like a big champion for them right now. It's possible for things to not be black and white, and I'm not exactly a big champion of it right now. However, there were points brought up in the comments where I was like, that's a really fair point that I did not think about or even consider. Yeah, the context of it was, I still stand where we did, but now I have more context for why people might think differently. Yes, and even when it comes to maybe Tony Gilroy himself being perhaps like a little bit more on board for why it might be okay to do that because it's a 3-episode arc because you could take your time. Like I completely forgot while we were talking about like, oh yeah, last season it was a 3-episode arc every 3. Yeah, and I had forgotten too. It's been 3 years. It's been a while, and so, but I'm like I'm a little bit back and forth, and I'm like I could actually see how that's justified then because it is kind of like an Arcane situation. Yeah, which is what you described as what it wasn't like, but now with context. Yeah, exactly. So I get it, but I'm like. The other part, I mean, this is not to push back against people who were being like a little, who were, because I feel like most people when they were pointing that out were actually respectfully disagreeing. Yeah. Which I'm so relieved to see. I'd rather see that in comments than like, to hell with you guys, because that's all we want is to get to a point where even though we're on camera and we're the ones talking, we're okay to be like, oh yeah, we actually didn't consider that. Thank you for pointing that out to us. I still think when we look back at Andor, it remained a part of the conversation as one of the successful things as part of Lucasfilm under the Kathleen Kennedy leadership because of how long it stayed in the conversation. And how it had time to grow an audience. Exactly. I think a big part of what I have an issue with is it wasn't a thing anyone was waiting for. No one was like, oh man, Andor. And then 3 came out at once and people were like, this is actually pretty great. And then it was weeks like 4, 5, 6. It grew every week because it had time for people to talk about it. Now I get that's different for season 2. And I get that's going to be different for people coming in with anticipation because it has had 3 years. But I think the precedent of releasing things in chunks is more what I'm speaking to, that I don't think it's ever a better decision, ever. I've never seen a show that I was like, boy, am I glad that's already over if I enjoyed it. And I don't hate watch things. So I've never watched a show and been like, glad all those artists and everyone that dedicated years of their life to this got a week out of it. It just doesn't make sense to me. So, I mean, a movie is formatted to be a 2 to 3 to 90 minute, whatever length time experience. And that's another been a weird thing with like people like demanding certain movie times. It's like the movie should be whatever length the story requires. But that's a different design. So comparing shows to movies, I think is a big part of why streaming has been so messy is they don't know what works because it's so new. But the old TV model at least had longevity of experience. So that is more tested. I don't think the binge model has ever served a narrative better. I don't think I've ever seen something where I was like, I'm glad we're rushing. Yeah. Yeah. Well, we've acknowledged it. Well, yeah, and I appreciate everyone telling us the context, the ones that were respectful. I appreciate the context of why it could be 12 episodes in 4 chunks. Like, that is something I hadn't considered. And maybe this will be the exception to the rule. But generally, I prefer
my shows televised.
So do I. I think Arcane was a bit of an odd duck, and how like but Arcane also has like, oh, it's the League of Legends animation adaptation, you know,
Yeah.
where this was like another Star Wars show,
Right.
that is just released. So we'll see how it pans out. But
Yeah.
if anything, that release date did make me go, I would love to have it come out and see if it still dominates the movie sphere or TV show sphere conversation.
Right.
Because I would love for those comments to actually be right. We were talking beforehand. I feel like I can both be very cynical and be very optimistic about the same subject.
Sure.
It's because like, here's what I'm cynical about here, and here's what I'm very optimistic about here. And the comments, weirdly, as much as they were like, I disagree, it had me go, you know what? As much as it's a disagreement, I found myself becoming more optimistic and at least leaning on that a tad bit more. But then we're talking about cynicism and optimism. That's the main subject at hand.
Speaking of
Today.
Disney release,
We've only talked in like little chunks off camera about
Yeah.
it. Let's talk about this Marvel stuff with Avengers Doomsday, Secret Wars, Fantastic Four. Full disclaimer here, we're not going to be breaking down these images I don't know what the words are, just every frame at a time and everything like that. We're not going to. I mean, there might be some stuff that we do talk about, and I would just advise this. There'll probably be some spoilers that we might end up going into. So please leave the video if we happen to mention something, because I've only seen
I haven't seen the images, so I don't know if you're going to be spoiling
You haven't
stuff for
seen
me.
any images?
I've blocked everyone that posted them.
Oh, you haven't seen a single image. Okay, then I will not say
I've
anything.
seen the colors.
You've seen
Like
the
when I see the
colors?
shape, I go block.
What about the one? I mean, you must know there's like a Doom image out there.
I know that there's a comic that I love that is referenced, but I haven't seen the image. I've read that.
Oh, this is gonna be a fun conversation.
Okay.
then. Yeah. Then
I'm the double blind for you.
Then I will definitely. This will be fun to talk about.
Okay.
Oh, I love the challenge. Actually.
Yeah, because I have friends that are on social media that I am. Man, I'm gonna totally like expose myself.
We're about
here.
to piss off some of our friends. I
Yeah,
know.
I have a lot of friends muted so that I can stay friends with them
Yeah.
because I need to follow them for friendship because that's 2025. But I know people that I actually respect have posted them, but they were already muted, so I didn't need to block them because they'd already been muted. But anyone I didn't know that was posting them, I blocked. So I haven't seen them because I've set up a very specific net. And anytime I saw a shape, so I'm sure I've seen like pieces, but I didn't like, since they're art, you have to like look at them to get a comprehension of what the image is. So I can tell that there are like people sitting, or I can tell like there is a green or a gray, but I don't know. Do you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Like when I would see a familiar shape, I'd go, ah.
Yeah. Well, this is a complex subject because it's like, where do you begin with this? I don't really give a shit about the whole Disney press list stuff in the context of like that's like I would love to. Okay, no, let me backtrack this a little bit.
Coming out swinging, Greg
Doctor
Alba.
Strange Multiverse of Madness.
Yes.
That's when John and I were massive. I'm going to just throw John under the bus. We were massive participants in this Spider-Man No Way Home leak time. We were. A lot of channels were doing it. No excuse. We were definitely like contributing to that. And I will say, like, it did lead to like a lot of hype. It never led to anything feeling like a disappointment within Spider-Man No Way Home. Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness was a very different journey for us. The initial plan was like, let's do it again. We did get the call from Disney publicist at the time, and the conversation was very clear. And I've had it many times. Like, there's plenty of times we've hated Disney stuff, and he's like, "Look, I don't care if you hate anything here. It's like that doesn't matter. I don't care if you hate anything. You just be honest as you want. The only thing studios care about is that you don't spoil shit." So there's so many things to go into here. And on an industry side, it shocks me how many big industry people there are that go to these premieres and do the red carpets and the Getty images and stuff like that. I'm like, I got a very clear call that that's the one thing that is actually not okay.
I have a thought.
Please.
Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt because I felt like you were ramping up.
Oh, yeah.
I think there are some people that get away with some things because their numbers supersede that cost. I think there are numbers that are, I think there's a pros and cons spreadsheet of we can have this much marketing out of a person and not penalize them, or we can ignore it because it's worth.
Sure.
And so I think you have to be at a certain point. And I have friends that are, and I only know they posted them because I had friends call me and be like, aren't you mad at blah, blah, blah? And I was like, I don't know they posted it. And so I think some people do just flippantly post this stuff and still get the call to go to events because they are at a number that benefits more than it hurts.
Yeah.
And that's unfortunate because we have a large following here. And I am very particular about the way I address art when it's not yet released. And I feel like we don't get the respect that the number should imply for how delicate we are compared to a lot of people that are in similar positions.
That's very fair.
And it upsets me all the time.
Disagree with you there. Because, yeah, I'm like, I actually, here's the thing. I understood when that was said to me. Suddenly it all clicked. I was like, yeah, that is a very reasonable request in terms of a trade. If you want to be able to get screener access or something like that. I love the reassurance that we can be as honest as we want, and we have continued to be as honest as we want.
Yeah.
Sometimes at the movie premiere, crapping on a movie, you know? And so I love that we're able to still maintain that. And it not only did it make sense to me on an industry side, it started to shape my point of view in general about leak culture that we're in. Because there's two sides to leak culture that I feel are weirdly both valid. One is something that we both feel very strong about. And the other, I'll just immediately address the other side. I know the power that leaks have in creating hype. I know the power leaks have in actually getting people interested. I've seen it with Avengers Doomsday already based off of these concept art leaks alone. Is there are so many people now being like, you know, I was really on the fence about this, but now I'm really hyped.
Yeah.
I've become so big, though, on a personal level of not wanting things to be spoiled. We cover way less trailers now.
Yeah.
There's so many things we go into blind because it makes the actual experience of the film or show that much better. The less we know, the less we see. You're able to take it in for what it is. And I get concerned with the concept art with this one, that it's going to be a little bit more akin to not No Way Home, but to Doctor Strange 2, where that had a lot of leaks, and people were like, the leaks were better than this. Because this is concept art.
Yeah.
We don't even know if this is going to be fulfilled. There's some crazy shit in that concept art. I've seen a good amount of it, a lot of times just from scrolling and like, here's what this photo is, you know? And when I'm watching, I'm like, yeah, that's cool.
That's what I mean by like when I watch the movie, I know some shapes I've seen will contextualize. Like that's what I mean by like it's hard for me to tell you I haven't seen them because I've been like tweeted and I'm sure as scrolling I've gathered.
Yeah.
But I'm trying not to spend time going like, what was that image? I'm trying to do the opposite. I'm trying to be like, let me get blackout drunk and forget any shapes. So my opinion on leaks is it is for the profit of
the leaker or scooper.
Not the studio.
Yeah.
And so I get the side you're saying. While we're on the pros, I can see the pros because I have heard Doomsday discussed more popularly and more beneficially. And I hear, but it's also a year away at minimum. I think it's getting delayed. We talked about that a little bit. I don't think in a year people are going to be like, boy, am I glad 12 months ago I knew a lot of what was going to happen because now that it's out, I sure did have a year of thinking about it. There's no one except for the most diehard people that were going to see it anyway that is thinking about this for a full year about the things they've seen. The people that are excited by the character that I heard is in the concept art are people that know a very specific comic book that was already going to go to the movie.
Yeah.
So I don't think it actually lifts the right boats. The people that are in our circles, the people that are in the movie sphere so deeply they make content or consume content about it. The people that are in our comments right now are already going to see the movie. We're not the ones they need to get butts in seats. They need to get the casual audience member, and the casual audience member isn't going to know what those pictures mean. So I think that net benefit is not worth the people that are being exposed to things that one may or may not exist, two might not be as cool as it feels by the time it's actually in 3D with actors in it versus like whatever vague. Comic books are art. Concept art is art. You can make something look cool in a comic a lot easier than you can make it look cool in 3D. So I'm sure the concept art looks awesome. because it's in the medium it was drawn in. So all of this to me is setting up expectations so high that you're going to get Multiverse of Madness. You're going to get certain elements of everything post-Endgame where people learned way too much going into the film. And you're writing the movie in your head that is so big and grandiose that when you actually see what's made, even if it's the biggest movie ever, you've had so much time in your imagination to make it bigger. How can it live up to your dreams?
I feel like I'm in complete agreement with you on it because it's so easy to get hyped by some cool images and to go, oh, the Russo brothers made this, and this. But there's also a lot the MCU hasn't done, and it doesn't look like the property slates that they have ready to go before Doomsday. Even, let's say all this concept art they released is actually gonna come true, which most of the time it doesn't. Part of the concept art leaks is something that's not in Doomsday, did not get greenlit.
Okay.
Which, do you mind if I share this one?
So it's definitely not real.
It's a leaked concept art, but it's not happening. Like, it's not in Doomsday, it's not in the movies, it's a canceled show.
Oh, yes. Thank you for clarifying. I'm like, I don't know how to answer this.
It was the Morgan Stark show.
Okay.
And they had like concept art that leaked from that.
Interesting. So that proves some of this is.
So they wanted to do like an Iron Man 3000. I think that's what they called it or something like that. Or something
I
like
love
that.
you 3000, Iron Man 3000. That's cute.
I think it was something like that. So yeah, that didn't come true.
So what else of this, if it's from the same little notebook of concept art, like if it's in the same folder, guys, why would you double down on this?
Yeah, we've seen it happen with every show and movie. A lot of times unused concept art gets released after a movie comes out. That way you don't piss off an audience or mislead an audience.
I think Multiverse of Madness is a perfect example because I have a thing where I like the years leading up to a movie, knowing as little as possible. When I hear something going like, what if it's this? And some of the audience loves that about me. And they go like, he knows the comics, that's so exciting. And I'm sure some of the audience and some of them I've read are like, they would never do, like my tinfoil hat theories. There's a lot of things that I would do differently than what they're doing at Marvel. There's a lot of things I would do differently from the past and the future. But since I have such a comic backing, I would form this tapestry very differently. But as soon as I'm sitting in that seat, I go, okay, let me get rid of all my daydreams and let's watch what some artist made for me. Let me appreciate their vision. Let me appreciate their experience. This is what I want. The problem becomes when my writing stays more authentic to me and that isn't how they perceive the character, I'm always going to prefer mine because it's mine. Like my bias is always going to be to my favorite version of something. I think about Kang in Ant-Man 3 and the fact that they've got, you know, his daughter trapped in a prison and he doesn't have use of his powers and he's basically like slamming around using some form of like telekinetic energy. He's Kang and Ant-Man has lost time with his daughter. Kang is a time conqueror. How much more interesting would the plot have been if it was Ant-Man mourning the time lost? And why wasn't Kang just aging up his daughter and aging her back down and playing with Ant-Man and even offering, hey, wouldn't you love the time back with your daughter that you missed? I can give you that. That's already a better movie. I had to sit down in Ant-Man and go, that's what I would have done. What is Peyton Reed going to give me? What are these writers going to give me? If there were storyboards on top of that I saw of Kang de-aging and aging, I'd be so hyped. I'd be like, they made the movie. I think that Kang... And then I'd be devastated when the movie... So why add more ammunition of your own mental what-ifs?
Yes.
It's a bad move. And I just think the whole culture of it's stealing hope. You're literally like scooping is going, hey, all of these grand ideas that may or may not ever happen, you're taking away from the actual thing that's done. The artists that give you this thing, the actors that put their time in, the writers that who knows how many drafts they wrote and how many things were conceived, the directors that have spent how many years honing their craft to bring you something that is impossible to make 3D in 3D just for you. And you're going to sit there and go like, nah, it wasn't as good as what I thought it'd be. Like you're taking away.
I agree.
So I think that whole culture is the antithesis of art. Art isn't done ever. Art is never finished. A writer, you write, you're a actually finished, completed screenwriter. You've probably never been like, that's the best that's ever going to be. Because in a year, you'll be like, oh, I could change that.
No, it's never done.
Art is never done. So what are we doing if not taking away even the potentiality of art getting released, feeling undone by going like, here's all the variables of what ifs. It's just, it feels like theft.
It's a theft beyond the actual literal definition of theft. It's a theft of the experience that we treasure so much when it comes to the cinematic escapism. Imagine if the Endgame portal scene, I don't know if that was leaked. It wasn't leaked for me. I didn't know anything about that.
Dude, can you imagine if On Your Left was just,
if that whole scene was leaked, like, oh my God, that would have really sucked.
Yeah.
And I agree. And I think No Way Home especially, and again, it's like I have my parts where I have to hold myself accountable for my like participation in it, and who knows, maybe Greg will become a totally different person in a few years. It's like, screw it, I'm going back to leak territory.
I'll play this footage for you.
Yeah, I'll play this footage for me. Watch my villain origin tale.
I want a house in New York and they're expensive. I love New York.
Watch my Arthur Fleck journey. I think Spider-Man No Way Home in particular created a different type of leak culture because it's not even backed anymore with like, hey, before I show this image, you might want to turn away.
Yeah.
Before I show you this, you might want to look the other direction. Now I just scroll and a big ass studio invited social media influencer
is
like this photo of this character right here. I'm like, oh my God, it's just right there, you know?
In the opening seconds.
And most people aren't as bothered anymore either. So then it affects the people who are bothered.
Oh, I can already see the comments. The comments go, oh, just deal with it.
No, people are probably really annoyed at us and they think we're probably like, I don't know, trying to be moralistic or have some higher. I don't know what the hell they're thinking.
Who are we for having morals? I do want to call us out for something, though.
Please.
We have to do thumbnails that get people's attention. And I know for a fact you have a system where you do a thumbnail that is not of any way a spoiler in any context. And then you will wait a certain amount of time. And that time varies depending on the level and also depending on the other elements of the internet. But there is also a competitive nature to spoilers. I think that we try to walk a line of morals and ethics and figuring out what that is more than channels that just go, oh, the video dropped and immediate spoiler thumbnail. So I know the comments will also be about like, how we do thumbnails for, but I'm preventing the comments. I'm getting them ahead of them.
Thanks. If the studio puts it out in a trailer, I'm like, it's fair game at this point.
So I want to be clear before I read them all later. That is something that we do try to look at is if the studio put it in their like next week on, if the studio put it in their trailer or anything that gives context, or if another number of like, if it's public to the scale of like, well, they're not going to see it here first. Yeah. That's different.
Yeah, especially
I don't love it, but that's the culture.
There's channels who do the comic book movie news and shows who are significantly bigger, and especially if their viewership is exponentially bigger than ours for the same thing we're covering, and they're using it. Then I'm like, okay, we can, I guess
change it to Plan B.
We can update it now. And now that I'm speaking it out loud, I suppose there is a bit of hypocrisy in some of the way of the approach. Now that I've spoken,
I've texted you.
Yeah,
I've been mad. I'm just like, I want us to be honest on this show.
Yeah,
there have been times where I've been like, hey, Greg, I unsubscribed from Real Rejects where I work with you. Yeah. Like, I have done that because I was like, that wasn't, but you at least are aware and
I'll question it. I feel like we're better.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Yeah. You make an effort. I'm giving credit for the effort. I'm also acknowledging half the comments are going to be hypocrites. And I'm saying like what you just said about you might change back. I'm giving you credit for changing for good. Like I want to give you credit for.
It's only you, Coy. It's only because of you.
I'm just trying to.
It's only because of Coy.
But what's funny is I'm getting less and less. The shill thing that started the show, like it was episode 3 or whatever. I'm getting more and more disenfranchised with the game, and I don't want my disenfranchisement with the game to feel like I'm willing to burn it all down with spoilers and leaks and all that stuff. My disenfranchisement is with the fact that you starting this channel have grown it to this level. We have over the last few years established ourselves as like, we can do interviews, we can do long form, we can do short form. We have established ourselves as a media brand, and we're still disrespected by numbers that aren't even always as good as ours by people who are willing to not think the way we do and care. Yeah. And so like, if the game is going to be rigged, I'm either going to find a different way to play it or I'm out. And so like, I think that's also a mess for me in the studio system right now is what I think I do best is interviews. Yeah. What I think I have the strength in is dialogue, not just like, here's a clip you've all seen. Let me describe it. I want that dialogue, and I really struggle with the experience of watching people that aren't as good at that get opportunities that are also stealing from the very studios that are giving those opportunities. And that's gross to me. Like, let me reward you for growing my following by stealing from you, and here's more access.
It's weird. It's like they're hypocrites too.
And that's why I'm calling it out. Because I don't think it's fair for them to go like, you can't do that, you can, here's an interview.
Yeah.
And like, the reason I like interviews is because I want the artist to explain their journey that I couldn't get. Like, I would have loved to have talked, because I really respect Peyton Reed. I would have loved to hear why Peyton Reed didn't want to have some of the elements that I saw in the character, and that might make me like the movie more. That's what I'd want out of my interview. I don't care about being in a photo with Peyton Reed or Paul Rudd or any of those things that I used to. I used to be very much like, I need to feel relevant, and now I want to understand the artist's mind more because it enhances my experience of the art. So I don't understand why the gearing is towards like, let's reward the people that are taking away this magic moment and then also get them to ask emoji questions.
What's the word? Populist culture is the terminology for it. Am I right about that?
Context, give me what?
God, I'm trying to bring up a terminology that I'm like, I don't really know the terminology.
John, what's populist?
How do I summarize this idea? It's like the way how a lot of people have said about how like Trump wins every time.
John's face just now was so much. He just realized something wasn't working, and he went through every phase of grief. I saw it all happen in real time.
While we bring it back to that, we're on the leak subject. I think, too, what this has now opened up the door for what we've seen with No Way Home is now a lot of lies are going to come out. A lot of rumors are going to come out.
Yep.
A lot of fake leaks are going to come out.
Can't put that genie back in the bottle.
Because then this becomes a brand new genre upon itself. A new category of leaks now.
Yeah.
Which is, okay, it might start with something that's a little bit real.
Yeah, and then
it evolves into now we got a whole bunch of people. We're going to see a lot of different rumors, a lot of different leaks that are just going to be a bunch of bullshit.
And week to week, the movie's going to be a different thing, and then it's going to be fact. And then when we see it, will it be good?
Before you know it, Spider-Man's going to be in Daredevil Born Again.
Right.
Doctor Strange and Quicksilver are going to fight each other at the end of WandaVision.
And then when that doesn't happen, you're like, I heard that happen.
Right. So
Where'd that go?
let's use WandaVision for an example.
Okay.
They were originally going to use Doctor Strange in there, and they had concept art, I believe, of having Doctor Strange.
I think you're right.
What if that leaked before that concept art? Like and then he doesn't show up.
And you were just disappointed as opposed to going, oh my God, this show was amazing.
People already get disappointed when something like that happens. And here's the flip side to what I feel about these leaks. As I have if I was leaked on the Illuminati images, which I was at the premiere, for Doctor Strange, I got on my Twitter, and someone had hacked it and put it up, and literally the first image is the Illuminati and John Krasinski. I went, oh, this is gonna be cool. It sucks. It's wrong. Like moments before I got to the theater, but this is gonna be cool. And I really didn't like the execution of the Illuminati.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like with what they're doing with Doomsday, at least half of what I've seen is the same feeling I'm having right now. That's my cynicism coming through me. Optimism is going, I hope they can introduce it and still have it be cool and have it work within its own context. Same time with what they're at least attempting or what they're developing, writers, directors involved, with Doctor Doom in particular, I'm going, I really feel like you needed some build-up.
He's in a movie next year.
I don't feel like it should be this as the introduction. Like maybe they're going to do something where they introduce where he's at and then they do a backstory. I'm like, I don't know if that's going to be as satisfying to witness this. This is why Zack Snyder's Justice League only works as a 4-hour movie, because it has to be a 4-hour movie, not 2.5 hours, according to the Russo brothers. This would have to be an insanely long. And yeah, I know people are already coming like, that's what we're doing Doomsday and Secret Wars. I'm like, if you look at Doomsday and Secret Wars, and obviously Russo brothers, massive fans of Secret Wars, the reason Secret Wars works so well for who Doomsday is because of the amount of other things Dr. Doom was in leading up to the level he achieves in Secret Wars.
Yeah.
You can't just do that all of a sudden.
And he's such a legendary character. It feels so, and that's why, I mean, I've talked about Downey as Doom a number of times, but the core of it's Doom. Like he's in Spider-Man #5. Like he's so essential. And I say that because he's so essential that he was introduced in the early 1960s and was already so big, it elevated their new character that they put him in the 5th issue. Like Spider-Man wasn't supposed to be a success. Do you know the story of Spider-Man? Like the comic character? Like I obviously know who Spider-Man is, but like how the comic developed.
I thought like Stan Lee saw a spider on the wall.
So Amazing Fantasy was being canceled. It was a comic series called Amazing Fantasy. Everyone said, no, we don't want a spider-based character because it won't sell. Spiders are gross. So they snuck in Spider-Man to the last issue of Amazing Fantasy as it was getting canceled. It was Amazing Fantasy 15. It was supposed to end at 15. Back then, you don't have immediate responses, so it takes like 6 months to get all your numbers back and like letters and all the, it like has to get out there. So 6 months later, this canceled comic is like the biggest selling thing. So he got his own title with Amazing Spider-Man #1 like 6 months later. But then it was the big hot comic because everyone read this one canceled title. And so like his first appearance was with Fantastic Four because he actually was able to elevate these other characters. But then Fantastic Four and Doom were around Spider-Man because it was showing like this unified universe idea. So when I think of Doom, I think of this is a guy you bring in as like your Matt Damon cameo. Like whenever you see Matt Damon in a movie, you're like, yeah! Like Doom is iconic and villainous and powerful. So you put him in Spider-Man 5 because you want to show that Spider-Man is a huge power player. So the idea of Doom, who might show up in Fantastic Four, he should be a big part of it. That's where he comes from. But he might show up as soon as this year. But at the end of the day, we're going to meet him maybe once before he's got his own movie next year. Like we're getting un-Thanos'd. And he should be bigger.
Speaking of Thanos, the comparison that I heard was like, well, you never know. Like Thanos, he was introduced in Infinity War, and it kicks it off with the Asgardians, being killed. And I'm like, that really set the stage, and that's the only movie where Thanos is really in it the whole time. Like, no, there's build up to Thanos.
Yeah, he's in the Avengers post-credit scene. He's in things leading up.
Yeah, and he's not, and at the same time, he's not Doctor Doom. It's a very different purposes entirely. It's not a one-to-one comparison.
Populist? Uh-oh.
No.
I called him right as he was
John's
moving.
rummaging through the microphone like crazy in our ears.
I brought a backup microphone, and hey, it came in handy because the other headset worked, and then it didn't work.
Got to give it up for John, killing it.
Populism is a range of political stances that emphasize the idea of common people and often position this group in opposition to a perceived elite, frequently associated with anti-establishment and anti-political
wrong use of word.
sentiment.
I thought that's what populist. I was trying to understand the context of how you were using
I
it.
misunderstood what I think I heard the word populist not long ago, and then I was like, that's a good word. I got to remember it. And I remembered it wrong.
So that wasn't the word you were trying to, it doesn't work for your example.
No,
okay.
That's why I'm glad I was over here. Like, let's look this up because I'm pretty sure I'm using this word completely wrong.
Because I was like, I think a populist is like kind of going against the establishment, like anti-establishment, not quite anarchy, but like, the guillotine's out.
Yeah.
So that wasn't, what were you trying to say? I'm curious.
I'm also working on pulling up what Greg was trying to say.
I don't even remember the context of what we were talking about. It's just
It was 8 tangents ago.
Now, there's something about like how popularity at the end of the day will just outwin it all in any capacity. That's why the rules can be very unfair, but they favor the popular.
Yes.
At all times, and we don't give equal treatment to the if someone's popular, and that's the way the system works beyond press screenings. And stuff like that.
I do think the business side of show business, unfortunately, is like we do need to keep an eye on.
That's
they
why
need
Kanye can still work.
That was going to say that's a great example. Like that's. Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, I don't think this is a one-to-one comparison with the Thanos thing because beyond the minimal amount of times we had screen time with Thanos and like Guardians of the Galaxy, there's still the build-up with like Gamora is the daughter of Thanos. And you had time for characters to give mention.
He was looming. We haven't even heard his name.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
we
Thanos was
maybe we'll hear it in Fantastic Four, and then he's out in like the next movie. Or
I think he's a post. I would put him as a post credit for Fantastic Four, and maybe have 2 Dooms, one in their universe, one in ours.
Yeah,
but even that's gonna feel like okay, he's here.
Yeah,
I just don't know, man.
I don't know, and I'm nervous about the movie because, like I said, images. I'll admit the ones I saw, I'm like, yeah, this does look badass, but. At the same time, if you show me like an image of Justice League, I'm sure there's been enough moments in there to be like, holy shit. And then you watch it and you're like, just because you do like a cool visual or have something that appears cool and that they're going to try to do it doesn't mean that the movie will. Like I said, I could be completely wrong.
Have you seen Madam Web yet?
Yeah.
I saw the pictures of Sydney Sweeney like 3 months before.
Of
and
her
I was,
as the Spider?
As Spider-Woman and like hanging upside down. And I was like, if nothing else, that's awesome. That's literally the amount of screen time she had. Was that image? So I was like, okay, so the movie isn't. And
that's probably Marvel Easter eggs a lot of time and stuff.
That's the thing is if we know the moment ahead of time and that's all the moment is.
Yeah. If it's just a point to look at it, capture it on camera, cool. But maybe I don't know, with the amount that's there. Like, okay, I don't know how you can pull all this off in 2.5 hours and set up Doctor Doom.
Is it all from just...
I think it's supposed to be Doctor Doom. I think it's supposed to be Doomsday, Secret Wars, and Fantastic Four.
Okay.
I'm not sure, but like even the journey to this, there's a lot they're gonna have to do, and I would love to be here. The way how there was a lot of people leading up to the Snyder Cut being like, the Snyder Cut's not real, the Snyder Cut never existed, there's no such thing, Zack Snyder's having extra footage, and then years of that, and then bam, psh. Like I think I don't feel like we're a strong. I don't know what the right word is here. There's definitely people who are worried and skeptical like us.
Okay.
Absolutely. There definitely is. Like we'll get our hate, whatever. Screw it. We're being honest. At the same time, I really do hope that it is a success. As weird as it sounds,
I want to have fun in an Avengers movie.
I would love to be like, holy shit,
they did
doubts washed away.
Yeah.
They pulled it off. I would love to be there. I've never mind opening a video with going. I was scared about what this would turn out to be, and sure enough, because I wanted to succeed. This could be the end of the MCU if this is not pulled off well. It really could have long-term damage. And that's another thing when it comes to what we're talking about with leaks. A lot of people will come in and go, it's building hype, though. It's building this. Sure, yeah, it is. I'll give it that. It is 100% building hype. But it's not about opening box office anymore. That doesn't matter for shit. Not anymore. It's about making a movie that will stand a little bit of time.
It needs to open big, and then it needs to have legs 2, 3, 4 weeks out to make this kind of money.
To make a true impact, it has to be on that caliber.
It's like 70% drop cap second weekend. Like that's a devastating drop because that's everyone that was going to see a Marvel movie no matter what, sees it opening weekend, obviously, like we do. And then it was like not a lot of people going, okay, I heard that was good. We can't have that with these Avengers movies, or it is the end of the MCU.
Yeah. I mean, Robert Downey Jr. seems excited. Apparently, he's doing a lot of character homework on it, as he should.
Yeah.
I love how that's a news story.
When I saw that
Do
as
you
a
mean
story,
the actor's doing his work?
but I feel like it's a year out, so it's like everyone's grasping for like, we have a thing about Doomsday.
Yeah.
And like I talked about it on a live stream because I was like, I have been worried about the Doom, Downey thing, but at least this is a positive story. Like I want to be excited. I'm ready for a thing to make me go like, yeah. And this will not be that, but I'm ready for that. Like, so I'm going to keep being excited to be excited.
Yeah.
Right now I'm just worried.
Because here's the other flip side about as much as I've expressed dominating skepticism over optimism, I cannot wait to watch this movie.
Dude, we're going to wake up in 8 months and it's going to be a year that an Avengers movie comes out. Like, that's crazy.
That's the reality of my feelings right now. It was like, yeah, I can't wait to watch this. It could be a shit show. I can't wait. I could watch the trailer and be like, ooh, it doesn't look great. But I'm still going to be like, it's coming, man. I mean, I want to see it pulled off. I want to see it. I want to see some of this concept art stuff does make me go like, even if they did like 1 or 2 of these images, like, yeah, that would be cool if they managed to pull it off. So I do have my hope in it. I guess that's really it. It's going to be 2.5 hours according to, I don't know how they don't know that. It could totally change.
I don't think that they're on casting
And
yet.
that sounds short as hell for what they want to do.
Yeah.
The Brutalist is 3.5 hours, and it's all made with AI.
All of it.
Just like
Every
Avengers
frame.
Doomsday will be. every second of it's going to be AI. Yeah, oh yeah. I guess to end it off, as we talked about Andor at the beginning, I think it has to have more of that Andor effect, where it's like this movie will be big opening weekend, everyone knows, but it has to have that legs that we were talking about. So I don't know. You guys in the comments, you excited? You vexed? You annoyed? Did you get shit spoiled for you that you didn't want spoiled? We should put them all in the thumbnail.
I guarantee you I'm going to get just sent them. And I'm going to just keep blocking people.
True story, Reject Nation. I was over there editing, drinking this HUEL right here. Then got an email saying they'd like to re-up with us. And I was like, perfect. Turn the camera on, people, because I would love to talk about them. Why? Because I have some pretty serious health and weight loss goals. On January 25th, I weighed 218 pounds. And on the day of filming this, I currently weigh 199.3. There's more goals I got to go hit. But you know what? In this time of goal hitting, a thing I've been drinking a couple of times a week, more than a couple, HUEL. It isn't just an open bong.
I just want to make sure you can see it. Anyway, Huel's Black Edition ready to drink is a meal in a bottle. Packed with 35 grams of protein, 27 essential vitamins and minerals, slow release carbs, so you're not just filling up, you're fueling up. And here's why I keep coming back to it. I feel like it's a great incorporation. I mean, obviously it's efficient. There's no cooking time, no prep time. Grab it, drink it, done. Another very important factor is you want to find ready-to-go food that actually tastes great, and Huel does taste great. Smooth, no chalky aftertaste, low sugar, high protein, great macros. I'm able to fit it into my plan without ruining my progress. Another thing too, Huel's pretty affordable. Each bottle's under $5, making it an easy choice for anyone who's looking for a quick, nutritious meal. Honestly, it's a brand I would love to keep partnering with because I'm feeling pretty great about the progress I've been making, and I'm glad that I could be like, yeah, this is actually a thing that I take a few times a week. So if you want to give it a try, you can go to Huel.com, use my code REJECTS, and get 15% off your first order plus a free gift. That's Huel.com, code REJECTS. Feel your body even on the go. Here's hoping you love it.
Anyway, I don't get into this, but Vin Diesel wants to make a Groot movie. How do you
Hey,
feel?
that's Marvel.
How do you feel about that?
I think it's smart. I think the Groot shorts are adorable, and I think that as Marvel makes more mature content, it's also smart to appeal to a younger demographic. I think the demo that grew up with Groot has aged into teens and adults and, parents. I think it'd be smart to do something that would be gearing young again if they want to go young Groot. I could see them doing like a feature-length, like DreamWorks-y movie. But I could also see, Groot being something that does a cosmic story. I don't know if it would. I'd do a special presentation. I don't know if it's a theatrical release, but I think the character has plenty to say.
I put absolutely zero thought into this. I just wrote Vin Diesel. But for some reason, as you started talking, I started going, I would be in the theaters, actually,
That's what I'm saying. Like,
if there was an I Am Groot, like, awesome animated movie.
Like if there was a DreamWorks original style.
When you said DreamWorks, I suddenly went, wait a minute, he might be on
that's a
something
character
here.
I'd watch.
Yeah.
So it would have to prove theatrical to me, and I'd want it to be, a feature length, but I think it could be a fantastic Disney Plus special presentation. It could be an amazing, but that's the line. They'd have to give me a trailer for me to be like theatrical, but I could see it. Like I see the merit.
Yeah. What do you guys think? You want a Vin Diesel Groot movie? I don't really have
The
it.
longest chapter
I have, like,
ever.
no
we have a
opinions about this.
4-hour chapter of leaks, and then it's like, I'm Groot.
I mean, it's about as many lines as Vin
That's
Diesel will
all
have
we
in
got.
the movie. He's got 3 words we said 3 times the amount he would say in that actual film.
He doesn't have your language though, which is really cool. I love that he learned like so many, and he like the enunciation. It's like a harder job than just 3 words, but it also is crazy that he's learned that much Groot.
I was watching this movie, this video. What is the channel called? I would love to shout them out. But it was talking about Vin Diesel's early days when he like learned to direct and he made his first short film and I think he read like a Sidney Lumet book and that's what inspired him to direct and he was like going off into comedies. I think the movie's like Guilty something Guilty, whatever.
Find Me Guilty. I think the channel you're referring to is Cinema Sticks.
Yes.
Nice.
Cinema Sticks.
That
And,
was actually thinking what Greg's saying
yeah.
with Populist. You just pulled total brainwaves.
that was
I've been
exactly-
watching them a lot lately.
Yeah, no, they're a fantastic. They are an amazing channel. If you haven't seen them, they're great. They do like micro video essays, and it's weird to say it's a video essay. They do a video essay, micro video essay.
Are they vertical and short?
Yeah, what's a micro video essay? They're like,
I'm Groot and the video.
yeah. They're like, yeah, they're still a reasonable length, and it's still an essay. If you're gonna write that, that's a good amount of pages and words to write down, and it's a lot of editing. But yeah, and it was about Vin Diesel's early career. And it was like the Bruce Willis effect I had when I was watching it just last night. I feel like that's probably why I just wrote down Vin Diesel and not I Am Groot because, now he just does Fast and Furious movies or weird movies like Bloodshot and Triple X reboot or whatever and trying to get an I Am Groot movie made. And I forgot, like Bruce Willis, the guy actually has a lot of talent and skill. And for some reason, he just went down this other path of, I just want money.
I think it's there's a certain amount of bandwidth any of us have, right? Like I think there's only so many times you can get told no until you're like, okay, I'll do the thing that's a yes. And I do think, he took a lot of no's in the beginning and then he had a lot of success and then his things that he was passionate about kept not doing as well as the easy things. So I the Riddick Passion Project, he made like 4 of them and he loves that character, but I do think he wanted those to do as well as his fast stuff. And so when that keeps happening, you're like, I could work less hard and I could make a movie, make $1 billion and have fun with my family that I've grown up with for family. Like I get it. I worry about that with what we do. Like I have been doing this 10 years and Winter Soldier to now, the culture has changed so much that I worry that the cynicism will make it not fun to do, and I'll just be like, okay, I'll just do the surface level. I could see it happening.
I feel exactly what you're talking about. It happens whenever I go to write. That's usually almost every day I have on my to-do list, write for at least 30 minutes. And that's usually the main thing that I sacrifice to make room for other things that I consider more priority or more immediate priority. But then I get a flash at the end of every night of I'm going to be on my deathbed going like committed to so many other things I didn't actually want to do because I just didn't write. You know,
I'm having that with interviewing. Like
Yeah.
I haven't done I usually have done a couple of cons by this point of the year. I've usually done a number of interviews, but I've gotten to the point in my career where I've jumped through the hoops, and if it's not gonna happen with like 10 to 20 emails, I'm not gonna send 30 to 50.
I think it's what the Russo brothers do.
But that's why I was worried about it. I think it was on this show that I said, like, I wish their other stuff had done well.
Yeah.
Because, like, I think they're good directors, but, like, nobody sees them as anything. I liked Gray Man. I'm the one. But, like, that is, to me, them not being able to do the stuff. And, like, why wouldn't they want the dump truck of money bucked up to their house? And it's not like they don't enjoy it. They wanted Secret Wars. They love working with Marvel. I don't think they're, like... And also, I can see the comments. Oh, the horror of having to make an Avengers movie. But at the same time, I want, like, creative fulfillment for people I respect and admire. So I want that for Vin Diesel. I think it's just, this is the path, and he's probably not unhappy.
Yeah.
But it might be a thing like with you with writing and me with interviewing. It's like, what I want to be doing and what people are letting me do are very different things right now.
Yeah, the money society, the financial
And
capitalistic
the
society
dollar is
has-
worth 7 cents right now.
has really it does affect that. Like every great film that we watch, the filmmakers that we love, of course they wanted to make a career out of it, and it's very possible to be like, this is my passion and I want to make money off of it. But rare is the day where like I do this mainly just so I'm pursuing this mainly just so I can make money.
Yeah.
That's 90. This channel is not like, yes, there's monetary gain. We make money. I care about the business side of it. I know 100%. I went into great detail with John on a separate video of like, I know 100% why we actually do this. And it's not just money.
Yeah.
There was like many years where there was no money coming in. And so, yeah, and same for you, you know? And
Everything
all
we
your
just talked
endeavors.
about, like
Yeah.
with the leaks, we would be making money.
Yeah, that's true.
Like what
that was part of like the reality of it. Like I did get into the hype of it, but there was also there's like easy financial gain for it, and sometimes there is a thing of like you got to give up money and have more experience.
I was so proud, and I will use the word proud. I was so proud you didn't text me, hey, leaks just dropped, come do it live.
Oh, ew. That's where I'm at. I'm at the ew part of my life.
But Multiverse of Madness, that would have been the thing.
But you see, I'm weird though, because I'm like, ooh, I don't want to do that. No. But then I'll find myself late at night, like 2 days ago, going, I wonder what this person has to say about the leaks. Like, what are their opinions about what this is? Now that I've already seen it, let me just see what they have to
that's
say.
the difference. You've opened the can of worms. So you're like, well, what's their take?
Well, let me find out. Yeah.
And I think that's where we're
So
different.
then I'm a contributor to the
Yeah,
problem.
you're giving the money through the clicks.
Yeah.
You're giving the ad revenue, watching the ads to get to that shit.
Yeah, the pennies add up. It's like, because it's easy to go, yeah, it's just like a penny I'm giving this guy, but the pennies add up when there's enough pennies.
Yeah, that's the point of the leaks, is to give the pennies. But that's why I'm really, cautious and aware of my YouTube algorithm. Is like I know that if I invested in stocks for certain things over time, I would make more money, like investing in guns and oil and stuff. But I want to make less money by investing in like sustainable energy and in companies I believe in. So like even when I buy like an ETF, I look at what companies are part of that like net, because I would rather die a little poorer than die knowing I helped hurt people. So I think the same with like YouTube. I think the same with who I help in their careers. I think the same of who I associate with. Like I don't want to be a one away from a monster. And I think that is what's different about this channel, because I think we've had to walk a line of being a media channel, a multimedia thing in an age of that stuff, and still need to make a profit.
Yeah.
And that's exhausting. Like it's way harder and way more tiring.
Yeah.
But that's why I like the style of interviews I do aren't popular. That's why I'm not getting to do them. But I would rather do that than be like, what 3 emojis would describe your experience? Like I'm not going to do that, but that would get me in the door, but it's not worth it.
Yeah, I'm just if shit hits the fan, I'm just going hardcore far alt right and rage baiting.
Dude, I'd make so
just
much money,
want you
man.
to-
Look at me.
You need to be prepared for the
Look at my
inevitable.
coat and my eye color, bro. I would make so much money.
Because
and I'm articulate. I
There is
read.
passion and unity on that side,
Dude,
and
a lot of people I used to respect it. It's when you've got one side yelling at you for slipping and not being as aware of stuff and blaming you and calling you a bad person, and the other side going like, say what you want, here's a stack of money. It's so easy to be like,
because as much as there's like hardcore far left sides, there's not as profitable.
no, it's the opposite.
No, yeah.
There's no money to
And then you
scale.
just sound annoying to the
Yeah,
left.
but that is the same with movie culture.
Yes, exactly. That's my point.
Like the aggressive movie
Yes.
culture is like, we will not discuss it until we see it, and the other side is like, give me the script and the leaks, and like neither are great.
This is what I was talking with John about on the video that we were doing was, it seems like the time of Trump and Hillary, suddenly movies became Republican and Democrat all of a sudden.
For a really weird theory,
Yeah.
I think we have more bandwidth because we've mechanized so many things. Like when we used to take 3 hours to make a meal or longer way back in the day, but like things have gotten more efficient. I'll just say it, like efficiency has caught up. It's gotten awry, but overall we are more efficient. I think with more time, we seek out conflict that we don't have day to day. Everyone has conflicts. Yes. Absolutely. Like the human condition is struggle. But I think since we're programmed to struggle and efficiency has given us a few more hours in the day, we find those hours and fill them with struggle because that's our default setting. So we've politicized movies and content and art and made it so that feels like that fulfillment of like, I've done my struggle, but it's about innocuous stuff.
Yeah.
So I think the politicization comes from a human condition problem as well as a problem with the way it's being put to us. Tribalism absolutely helps sell stuff. So they play those levels. Like it's very clear, like if you want someone to do well, you need to have someone against it.
Yeah.
So I think part of the human condition is like, how do I make this my identity and how do I defend it? And it's like, why don't you just like it?
I agree. And I'm oftentimes in my own personal life, and I can be a very active participant in the exact type of mindset you're talking about. I credit myself as a solution-oriented individual. You know, that's a big part of running a business. You have to be solution-oriented because there's constantly things going wrong. But because I credit myself as a solution-oriented person, I often seek problems. Because
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah, I seek problems because I'm like, I need to solution something.
Yeah.
And then I end up like, then I get mad about problem. And then I solution it when I'm like,
Why did I find that problem?
But I'm like, there's got to be a way where I can do this without being like infuriated. And this is why Batman takes his shit out on criminals.
100%, man. It's so tempting.
Yeah.
I'm like that with positivity. Like I'm a very positive person, and I'm always so proud when I'm like, I found the silver lining. But I'm like, why am I always looking for fucking clouds? Like that's what, like I literally am seeking negativity in order to be like, overcame it.
Yeah.
Like it's such a weird thing. Like I just I'm figuring out like a new place to live that's bigger, and the whole time instead of thinking of the bigger space, I'm thinking of the more money. And I've already accepted the more money it's going to cost. I've already saved for 3 years. I've already solved the problem. But instead of thinking like, I can make a studio, I'll have more space, I won't live in 500 feet, I'm going like, but what have I done with my savings? But like, that's why I saved. Like, so I'm the same with negativity where I'm like, I saved for a thing, now I'm doing it, but the savings. So like, it's weird human nature that we're like, look over there at the bad thing you did.
Well, speaking of looking at the bad thing they did, damn Melissa Barrera.
Not being in Scream by not her own volition?
Yeah. Is that a
What is
transition?
she?
I was looking at.
Is this a Scream story?
I wanted to get to Scream 7.
Oh, I see.
Well, Deadline or something like that reported that they're all coming back. Not Melissa Barrera and Jenna Ortega.
Everybody
Everybody else is coming back. So like
I knew Sydney was.
Sydney, Arquette,
Lillard,
Dewey, who had a fateful event happen
recently
in a
in
film
the
a
cinematic
couple
universe.
films ago.
I mean, Lillard did in the first one.
Lillard definitely did as well.
Skeet did was a ghost for a while. Maybe
weird
Lillard's
choice to
another
me.
ghost. The movie's like not super, like the glory of Scream is the lack of supernatural in the beginning. Like I love that he like stumbles and he's a person, and then they're like, yo, what about Ghost Skeet though? I'm like, what is this franchise?
What about older Ghost?
Yeah.
Skeet?
What if he aged in real time because we cast Skeet Ulrich, but we just kept Skeet? And I love those movies, but it's not the movies. Like, I have a great time with them. I love how meta they are. But that entire supernatural subplot, what is that?
Not a fan. I'm not a big fan of Scream 5. However, I love Scream 6. Scream 5. I really feel like those directors really found their voice. Scream 6 is in New York.
The one in the theater at the end? With like 3 of them?
In the theater?
There's like a big stage area.
That's Scream 6.
That is 6. Okay, I like that one too.
Yeah. Scream
They
6.
blur together.
The one in New York.
5 is
5 is Jack.
Jack.
One.
Okay.
Yeah. And Oscar winning. What we didn't talk about is the Oscars. And Oscar.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't even put that down. But yeah, so David Arquette coming back, and Scream I have hailed as my favorite horror movie forever, and it still is.
It's my favorite franchise.
It's my favorite. It is my favorite horror franchise. I love this franchise. And it's so weird. I've never even really tried talking about it too much. I know we talked about Melissa Barrera a long time ago and that whole situation. What this franchise is turning into with this Scream 7, I know we haven't gotten like any report of what the actual movie is. They had a whole plan and it all got canned.
Yeah.
And then they brought in Kevin Williamson and they're redoing it all.
The Kevin Williamson part has me so excited, but the rest is, I'm so worried.
It has me, this is the least like, this is the most dejected I've ever been going into a Scream movie. None of these announcements are doing it for me. All these announcements are going like, this seems like weird PR or something. I don't know.
What's so funny is I remember the Lillard announcement now because it got me excited. I remember even sharing it. I remember being amped. And just now I asked you because I've been so dejected that I forgot I got excited.
Oh, interesting.
Like I got excited and it left me to such a level. I was like, was that a dream or is Lillard back?
Yeah.
That's not a good sign because I should be so amped that like Lillard's one of my favorite actors coming back to Scream. And yet I'm like, but if they're all back, is it just like a Fast and the Furious? Like, is it just going to be so absurdist?
Yeah, it's like one of those cases where,
and I like Fast and Furious, but it knows what it is.
You know, when studios with their franchises are panicking and they're like, what are fans online saying they want? Let's do it all. Let's do it all because that's how we get them back.
The word you're looking for is desperate.
Populist.
Populist is what you're talking about.
Yes, a desperate act of populism. It's us versus them in the Screamiverse.
Take it out. Twitter, write my script.
And yeah, I mean, I know this is like, as much as we're like, we want to be positive in this podcast, I know I've been like very cynical today. And it is this strange thing to me of, again, I would love to walk out going, hey, I was super cynical before going in, but man, I was wrong. I have no ego about doing that. None. I am concerned about the Scream franchise, though. I think this is a very weird maneuver. I think it's a strange maneuver. They did the kind of impossible with Scream 6. No Wes Craven. I mean, they had Courtney Cox, but no Sydney. It's been Sydney's franchise.
And they actually found a new path and a new trilogy.
And they did it better than Scream 5. And they set up something great. And now I don't know what payoff we're going to get. A couple people from Scream 6 are returning.
I feel like we're going to get Last Jedi'd.
This is nostalgia bait. You mean Rise of Skywalker?
Yeah, because Last Jedi is original and different and a different take. And then they're like, what if we just do all the things the fans want?
What if we go back?
What if we just make 7 and 9 the same movie, which is also kind of The New Hope?
Yeah.
And that's what it feels like, them making Scream 1, but also Scream 7, which is what the last Star Wars felt like.
Yeah.
Not episode 1, episode 4.
I wish I had more of a conclusion on it. I just don't feel as excited anymore about Scream, and maybe there'll be a cool trailer, but I think nostalgia trailers don't work as well anymore. There was a time where it's like every soft reboot or whatever, nostalgia trailers just kicked ass. But it doesn't. I don't think
kind of through the era of it feeling fresh. Like there's a freshness to good nostalgia. Nostalgia is a really interesting emotion because it's like bittersweet and there's almost a melancholy in it because you're looking back at a time that's gone and you're mourning it while celebrating it. And I think there has to be a period of grieving after mourning. And I think we're through. I think sometimes when I'm sad, I find myself watching videos from the 90s. Like I'll get into like a TikTok rabbit hole where it's like, what sound from the 90s makes you most excited? And I'll just get sad and I'll just like listen to sounds over and over again that I'll never hear again in the wild. And that's a weird thing I do. But there has to be a moment where I stop doing that and go, I have to accept this isn't reality anymore. And I feel like the movies are trapped listening to 90s sound effects. And they're just kind of like, it can't feel fresh or nostalgic if it's stale.
Yeah.
And I feel like they're getting stale. And then you don't have that like, ooh, the bittersweet, this feels like going home. Like it's just going to your hometown that tore down the mall you used to love.
Yeah.
Well, and there's a weird thing happening with Scream 2 where it feels like they are throwing you everything that you want, which is already a symptom of culture, but also it's to directly deflect from the very real socio-political moment they had when Melissa Barrera left the project. And so now I feel like they're adding all these people from the legacy to basically go, no, come back, don't boycott this, essentially.
Yeah, and that's really dangerous, I think, because the optics are for the diehard fans, not for the casual fan. And this is the diehards are the one that knows why they need all these people.
I don't know Melissa Barrera. I know people who know Melissa Barrera. People are very close friends of mine.
Yeah.
And they love her. They say she's like an amazing person. Like they're really good friends. And it's cool and she's working some more. So I'm really happy for her.
Mm-hmm.
But this is a moment in time I don't think we should ever forget about what happened with her. I don't think we should ever forget that.
I've only heard good things about her. I am also conflicted because I wasn't even going to see the movie until they brought Matt Lillard back on. And I also know Matt Lillard is one of the single best people on the planet. Like Matt is seriously like the coolest person you know in movies and somehow cooler in real life. And I don't know how he would want to be a part of this if there wasn't a reason. Like a good Kevin Williamson script, there must be something that he'd be willing to do this beyond, a paycheck. He's not that guy. So like it confuses me because I've only heard good things about her, but I know the character of Matthew Lillard. So I'm like, what is this movie?
Reject Nation, when we first launched our merch store, rejectnationshop.com, first suggestion we got was to use Shopify. Now, a couple years later, with a successful online store, we still use Shopify to this day. So it's weird to say, thank you, Shopify, for sponsoring this video. And I'll be honest, I had no idea what Shopify was at first. So let me break it down for you in the simplest way possible. Shopify is how you sell stuff online. Whether you're starting a side hustle, launching a brand, or turning your passion into a business, Shopify gives you everything you need to set up, sell, and grow all in one place. Honestly, it's relatively easy. You don't need to be a tech genius. Shopify handles all the tech, back-end stuff. Really important, they're trusted. Shopify powers millions of businesses, all the way from small brands to major companies. Sells more. Their checkout is the best in the world. Shop Pay boosts conversions up to 50%, meaning more sales, fewer abandoned carts. And they help businesses grow. They even offer funding through Shopify Capital and seamless transactions through Shopify Payment. So whether your customers are strolling, or shopping online, Shopify makes sure you can sell wherever they are. So if you're serious about growing your business, this is the platform to use. Sign up for $1 per month trial at shopify.com/rejects, all lowercase. That's shopify.com/rejects to upgrade your selling today. Big thanks to Shopify for sponsoring this video, and I'm curious to know from you guys, what product or business have you guys wanted to start or launch before? Now. Do it now with Shopify.
Did you know Nev Campbell was my celebrity crush growing up?
I did not know that. Matt introduced me to her and I swooned so hard.
You've met her?
I did. I met the entire original cast.
What?
Yeah,
Really?
yeah. So I was in Florida, and Matt and I have done interviews and stuff together, and we are acquainted. And so he knew how much of a fan I was. So he told me hey, meet me down here at this thing. And then I got there, and it was the entire original Screamcast. And they were about to do a panel, but he's like, I really wanted you to get to meet everybody because I know you're such a big. He went out of his way to give me a moment before and then after a panel. So they did their panel. They don't even need moderators. Perry Nemiroff. Perry. Of course you know Perry.
Yeah.
Perry's the biggest Scream fan in the world. She does their panels, and basically it's them making her part of the cast and them having a party and running into the crowd.
Anyone deserves a cameo in a Scream movie. It's Perry.
You know the poster that went around for Scream 5, someone photoshopped her into, and mainstream movie sites started sharing it with Perry in it.
No way.
So if you look at some of the posters that were shared, Perry's on it. She's canonically. Anyway, she's such a Scream person. They just bring her out on stage and they go out into the audience with microphones and just run rampant. And Perry's part of it. It's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen at a con. But Matt had me come meet everybody because he knew it would mean something to me. So I'm backstage while they're playing, and then we all hung out after, and I got to talk to my childhood horror franchise.
Yeah.
And Nev was so cool. They're all amazing, but she's the only person I hadn't met of the team, and she was rad.
I'll say by the end of this conversation, I have become more interested and excited for Scream 7.
For me, it's all Lillard. It's completely on his very broad, tall shoulders.
I know you're not trying to convince me. It's just from, again, conversation, which is, I think, the only thing we're trying to inspire here.
He would not do it unless it was amazing because he knows what that character means to people. Mm-hmm. He goes to cons and people will like cry, hug him, and he will stall his line and stay extra hours. I've seen that dude stay 3 hours after his signing time because he takes time with each person. He wouldn't sacrifice Stu. Like he wouldn't.
Yeah, there's variables that I didn't consider and stuff like that.
For me,
I
that's
didn't consider
the thing.
that. No, it's a very fair point. David Arquette, perhaps even I would like that.
He loves doing
That franchise means a lot to a lot of those people.
I don't think Williamson would come back with
And
that.
I do think too, like, I think they made Scream 6 amazing, and they didn't, and Neve Campbell I didn't feel was ultimately necessary in Scream 5 either. And I hope that what they do for her is worthwhile because Sidney Prescott is one of my all-time favorite characters. But yeah, then this conversation definitely. Now that's the thing when you have a conversation is you can sometimes get some of the emotions
Excitement,
on the
energy.
surface off.
Yeah.
And then you're able to see what might be underneath that, and like part of that optimism versus cynicism can come into play. And I think it's possibly both. I guess that's we always have a theme.
Cynicism while still hopeful.
And we never really established what
behind the
theme-
scenes, we sit down and go,
Yeah, but we always eventually find, like, I guess that's today's theme is like, oh, it's optimism versus cynicism. And I feel like, yeah, I was very extremely cynical, but the part of this conversation has made me a little more optimistic.
I think it's hope through cynicism. I think we want to feel hopeful. I think you and I seek hope in everything. I think I seek hope in the world to be better. I think I seek hope in people. I try to give people the benefit to disprove that I think they're shit, and then I move on. But I always have hope for that time. And I think I do that with systems, and I do that with all the entities we deal with. But with movies, it's really hard because it always is a miracle it exists. So I always want to enjoy it. Like a person can have failures and a movie can have failures, but a movie is so many moving parts of like people trying their best. No one sets out to make a bad movie. You know what I mean? Like no one sets out to raise a bad kid, but there's so much that person has to do on their own, whereas a movie's just trying to be awesome. And so like I give movies so much grace. I always want to go into a movie with as much joy and hope as I can.
Well, speaking of hope, I'm just going to throw this little tidbit out here because I cannot go into this subject or else it'll spoil shit for you. It is the Last of Us 3 video game. I feel like it's relevant to talk about because I saw the show. Last of Us 2 is my favorite video game of all time. I'm replaying it right now because what we're going to do on the channel is for first people to hear about this. There's going to be 3 people doing gamer reaction. Myself, Andrew, Aaron. And last time we did that, Andrew and I were like, let's just wait to spoil stuff at the review. I'm like, we can't do that because it is not how we would watch this if the camera wasn't pointed. Like, we have to do this as we would in the game, which is like, we're going to talk about one, oh shit, this is like this in the game. Oh, they changed this. And then we're going to do blind reactions, which will be John Terra again. And we asked Roxy to do it because she keeps wanting to do TV shows. And I feel like that'd be an interesting fit since she Jax. Not you, Coy. To hell with you.
I was like, everyone but me.
Yeah,
you just named 6 people, and I'm just like, I guess I'll just screw myself.
Everyone but you.
So I'm the Last of Us.
You're the Last of Us. But I'm bringing up this Last of Us 3 because Last of Us 1 was a rather extremely faithful adaptation with some changes.
Okay.
There were some very obvious changes, some obvious expansions, but for the most part, it's a very faithful adaptation. Last of Us 2, I imagine, will be a similar case. It's an extremely long video game with a weird structure, so I imagine they'll structurally change it because the structure is very specific to the game experience. And they said that it will probably be like 4 seasons, the show of the Last of Us series. So instead of just doing 1 season for season 2, it sounds like they're going to do like 3 seasons for it. And if anyone who's played the game I'm sure they're like, yeah, that's actually kind of reasonable for what the game is. I imagine it's pretty reasonable. I want a Last of Us 3 video game because I do feel there is a chapter where they can conclude it. Again, can't spoil shit for you, Coy.
Yep, thanks. I want to watch the show.
Yeah, exactly. There's stuff there, but Neil Druckmann, who has become a very polarizing figure over the years since Last of Us 2, has said that...
Is he the game developer?
He's the person who created Last of Us.
Okay.
Yeah. And he's also directed episodes.
I've seen his name. I just didn't know.
Yeah. No, he's like the guy behind. He's the George Lucas.
Okay.
Yeah. He's the guy behind Last of Us. And he's just put out... It was a while there was in development, but now he's saying, like, don't count on it now. and it's got a lot of people. So I just want to speak to our Last of Us fans
It's a big. I mean, I love the first season. It's a big show.
I do have like my own, the way how we were talking earlier about, I have kind of like a similar, an idea that I feel like they could do. And mine isn't just some like made up idea. I feel like I have like a thematic, something that fits to complete the theme of like they're to do a trilogy to really bring it to a close.
Yeah.
So I'd be a little bummed that if they don't do it, I don't want it to just end.
Would it be as a game you want?
I think that you have to do it as a game and then you make the show.
Okay, that's what I assume.
Yeah, so then I'm basically...
So the game might not
I'm
ever exist.
simultaneously saying they should make... Because if they don't do the game, I don't think they're going to do
Of
this
course,
shit.
I don't
They're not
think-
going to continue it.
They're not going to Game of Thrones it. We're like, finish the thing. I'll make it myself.
No, because the game's pretty incredible. Second game was controversial. It was a very controversial game for choices they make. And I love the hell out of that game. Kind of a lot. Not kind of a lot, but like immensely. It's my favorite game. So, yeah, that's all I just want to say. It's a little tidbit. I hope they make The Last of Us 3.
Do you think it's because Druckmann doesn't want it? I don't know anything about...
Absolutely. I think
Okay.
Druckmann would only want to do it if he has a right story to tell. I think you'll love, if they do a proper adaptation, I think you'll love The Last of Us Season 2.
And that's why I'm not watching it on this channel.
There's a lot of people who already are like not looking forward to it because of what the game does. Like there's a lot of choices in that game that have challenged the audience for sure. And that's why I love it.
Yeah.
You know, that's what I was trying to say in like some stuff of other things we've covered. I'm like, yeah, I'm all for like a story. Like let's really challenge what you might expect out of a sequel. So I really,
generally love that. And I mean, I'm hoping Stranger Things 5 does that. Like I'm finally getting excited for Stranger Things 5 because I hope it's like challenging.
yeah.
I hope, because they're saying like each episode's a movie. That means it's like not hundreds. It's like dozens of hours. Like it's going to be probably like 20 hours if all goes well.
You know what I think we should bring back?
What?
Here's where I would like us to end. We don't do movies anymore from TV shows. When's the last one?
There's got to be one recent I'm just not thinking of, but not. It's not nearly as
2?
It's not nearly as common. I mean, the A-Team was
Entourage?
awesome. Entourage was a while ago. A-Team was a while ago.
I'm talking like a theater.
The Fall Guy.
No.
It was a 70s show.
I mean, like how there was an Entourage
Oh, like an ongoing,
movie.
like ended, like a finale, like
Yeah.
an ending of a show that's on, like a current show.
like X-Files movies,
Friends show.
Entourage,
El
Sex
Camino?
and the City.
El Camino got
El
a movie.
Camino was not a theatrical release,
But that is the one I think most recent.
I did see it in a theater.
I saw it at iPick because it was a Netflix movie.
But you know what I mean. Like, not in this limited release shit.
Community's getting one. 6 seasons in a movie.
Are they getting like a theatrical
yeah.
released movie?
Eventually, once Donald Glover's better.
Donald Glover is the biggest tease in the world.
He canceled his tour because he was sick and he hasn't resumed it. I had tickets. So I think he's not well, which worries me. I love that man.
Oh no, I take it back what I said.
He's been like sick for like 8 months.
Maybe he's just creating an album.
I hope so. I hope it's an artistic bait and switch, not like, are you good, bro? It's been a while.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the Community holdup. But they're making a movie.
Speaking of someone who's not well, I didn't know this till yesterday.
What a tangent.
We brought up this YouTuber before, YMS. John, did you know he has like some autoimmune? I think it's like an autoimmune condition. I was watching his Oscars video, and I didn't know he had this like really bad condition. And I know he probably would never watch our channel in a million years, but like I really hope it gets better.
Oh yeah, he said I didn't know what it was, but he has been saying lately that he's been dealing with chronic health issues.
Yeah,
that have been
And I'm like,
affecting
oh, no.
things, and
That
I
got
know
me
he's
worried.
got bad arthritis and stuff too. So.
Yeah, I really love his videos a lot. But sorry, Coy, what were we just talking about?
Movies based off shows that are ongoing. I was saying Community is the one that I think is the next if it happens.
It's a weird conflict, right? Because if you're going to conclude something, you should do it on the medium that it exists.
But if it's big enough, that's kind of a cool celebration.
It's weird to say every episode of Stranger Things season 5 is a movie. When I'm like, why didn't you make a movie? Why didn't you make your
Maybe
final
it's like 10 movies. You know what I mean? Like I would love to watch Stranger Things in theaters though. That's
Yeah.
the difference. Is like if you gave me can you imagine?
Whoa, that just blew my mind.
So what I want to
to
do if I get ever as successful as I dream, there's a movie theater that I've had my eyes on buying for literally 10 years, and I would play the theatrically aimed shows at that theater and get licensing rights to play TV and movies there.
yeah.
I've already got the place picked out, already have the name, already have the menu. I've got a whole plan, but I want to do that, especially with throwback stuff, because by the time I can afford it, it'll be a throwback.
That would be a really interesting way for theaters to bounce back. You know,
That's what I'm trying to do.
If you wanted to see like these episodes of television, I know Game of Thrones has done that.
Yeah.
They did that when I wasn't watching Game of Thrones.
But I do like Mad Men and stuff. Like I would go back to the stuff that was like Impact TV.
You're really artsy.
Yeah, I'd play like 2 episodes of Mad Men, and it'd be like, $15.
I do the Fly of Breaking Bad.
Dude, that'd be incredible in theaters. Ryan Johnson's The Fly is so cinematic, but cinematic shows.
But yeah, you could do the what do they call it when they like? Man, I'm just missing out on vocabulary today. When they refined a film to look
like
better.
remasters.
Remasters. God, dude, I couldn't find it.
Refine, remaster, redesign.
Refine's even kind of a stronger when they remaster a movie
like
to go
Seven's
see
coming
it.
out in IMAX again, or just
did. I saw Steven Spielberg's first movie. My brother took me, Sugarland Express.
Yeah.
Sat behind Dead Meat and James, cool ass guy.
Oh, that's cool.
Who's in Scream 5. And that was like a wonderful experience. That's an old ass movie. That's before Jaws.
I saw Top Gun re-released at its 20, 30, and 35th because I love Top Gun. Like every time they release Top Gun, I'm there because that movie is so like.
I saw E.T. for the first time, re-released, remastered, walkie-talkies and all.
Yes.
so I wasn't upset.
But that's like, why don't we, like, that's, they do it more and more all the time, but I want a theater of that. Like, because I remember $2 theaters were huge. I want to do, like, all of that stuff and all the redefined things that are, like, upgraded, like you're saying, and shows.
Well, I would love to do that, and I would love to see, like, this would be a really cool thing to pull off one day, honestly. Like, I genuinely am, like, this is the kind of thing I'm like, sure, could it be profitable? It would need to be to sustain. But as just a passion, I would love.
I've started looking at business plans. Like, this is my dream.
They have like actual IMAX theaters before Nolan came into the fray and started making films with IMAX or revolutionized filmmaking with IMAX cameras. And I'm like, how come they don't ever just play
Interstellar sold out how quick?
Ghost Protocol, Interstellar all year round?
Yeah.
Or make
Donnie Darko
special
played at the Arrow
events.
for a year. Like, Donnie Darko like was filmed. Have you seen Donnie Darko?
No, we've talked about it.
Okay, I forgot that.
have. I don't remember
All
it.
the scenes with Frank in the movie theater at the Arrow in Santa Monica.
Who's Frank?
Frank's the bunny. Do you know there's a bunny in it? John?
Like a real bunny?
Yes.
John?
Yes, I am aware of what you're talking
I'm gonna
about.
I go to the audience that'll understand me. So they filmed all those scenes at the Arrow.
How cool.
The Arrow played that movie for a full year and sold out all year because it was like, we did this here, this is for us. But that helped keep the Arrow open in dark times, and now they re-release it for like a month every October. So stuff
so
like
cool.
that is
That's
like,
wicked, yeah.
why don't we do that?
Well, I talked
The
to-
Crow every Devil's Night.
Like we're good. There's a couple of publicists at IMAX who we're really good with, and I said it to them. I'm like, how come you guys aren't doing this at IMAX headquarters? Like,
Yeah.
they're inviting people, the public, to go to these screenings now.
Yeah.
Like, but studios, they said it mainly comes down to what the studios want, which is crazy to me because I'm like, you put all this investment into your IMAX experience, and you have it there for like 2 weeks on average. 2 weeks.
You got to share the screen all summer with Tom Cruise.
It's a waste. Or you get Tom Cruise bitter, who didn't want to do it for Mission Impossible, the last one, because of Oppenheimer coming out and kicking him out of the theater in a way.
Funny because it's the biggest movie.
It's like, why would I? What, and like I remember seeing Ghost Protocol. Like nothing can match Ghost Protocol at home.
The opening of Dark Knight Rises.
Oh yes,
The plane scene.
every time Dark Knight re-releases on IMAX, I am there.
The Dark Knight Joker opening when it's like those strings and then it opens and you're like, whoop!
the highway,
Yeah.
the chase scene.
Dude, how cool would it be to see the Matrix in theaters?
The
in
Matrix in IMAX.
the Reloaded scene in IMAX. The chase,
The highway
scene.
chase, yeah.
like that. I've never gotten to see in IMAX because it was just regular.
Because it's not just picture and size; it's
Everything.
It's quality, it's definition, it's sound design.
This is what I want to do. And like with TV, like they shoot Stranger Things at that quality.
That's what
Why
I mean.
don't we do this?
They do. They shoot certain episodes of Disney Plus shows.
Yeah.
With that, like in Daredevil Born Again, I was asking like, oh, is this an IMAX camera? But then I realized it was just a visual.
Cool
thing.
Daredevil
Yeah,
shows.
but they shoot certain things with IMAX cameras.
Imagine if we were reacting to Daredevil in a theater.
Like, I don't see the point in watching in filming a TV show with it. Mandalorian season 3, episode 1. I remember a very specific moment that was clearly an IMAX camera when the aspect ratio changed.
I think it's for that, but then what a waste.
All
that resolution.
It's a waste. You don't get the IMAX experience with your IMAX enhanced Disney Plus subscription.
I don't care how big your 90-inch TV is. A 90-foot TV.
It's bullshit. It needs to stop. But I mean, granted, I preferred the Blu-ray of that. Like, Olivia was watching Hunger Games one day, Catching Fire, and this is what I mean. Whenever we shoot at IMAX, and I say, I've never taken the opportunity to do this. Whenever I say, like, I love IMAX, it's my favorite, I'm like, no, I could go into great depth of why. And she was watching on streaming, and when she enters the Hunger Games, the entire Hunger Games is in IMAX format.
Yeah.
It switches as she's going up the elevator, and it expands. It's a great trick because all they do is add letterbox, and then they remove the letterbox, and it makes it look like, ooh.
How did they change lenses?
The Dark Knight Rises does it too before.
Daredevil just did it, and I was like, how? Oh, right.
Just add the letterbox and post it. But it's a cool effect. And she was watching, I'm like, this is not an IMAX format.
They didn't do it.
And then she's like, no, I don't care. I don't need to watch it. I'm like, no. Like, I'm not going to watch it, but no. And I'm like rummaging through.
Stop everything you're doing.
We alphabetized all our shit. I'm like, where's it? I know we have it somewhere. And then I'm like, okay, I'm going to put this on. I got to load it. I got to reprogram the PS5. Hold on a second. Like 10 minutes go by. And I'm like, all right, now hit play. And she's like, you're right. This does look better.
Yeah.
And she's not one who gives
not one
a
of us,
shit.
like,
She
in that
doesn't
way.
give a shit about shit like that with like the way we do. But she was like, no, I noticed a big difference.
Have you seen
here.
Dune in regular? Dune or Dune 2?
I saw Dune twice. I saw Dune regular, Dune in IMAX. I saw Dune Universal IMAX.
Dude, the Dune crop is so crazy. Like, you lose
a
so
lot.
much. It's
And
like
I don't think they even released the IMAX version.
not even on Blu-ray. I don't own Dune 2
that's
yet
my
because of that.
point.
Why waste the beautiful data and glory?
IMAX experience is something to be treasured. And if we're talking about like, oh, so many people just go at home, then there should be like, I'm sure there's all this like politics and business handlings, and studios are precious and gatekeepy when it comes to their stuff. I'm like, you spend so much money on your TV shows to look like cinematic experiences.
Yeah.
Like, there should be a business where you can go to this theater and they're going to play this episode of this hugely popular show.
I've been trying to do this since I was opening movies for Marvel at the LCAP. I was trying to get TV shows at the LCAP. Like, I've been fighting for this for how long ago was WandaVision?
Yeah.
Like,
Years
5
ago.
years. I've been fighting this battle.
A Loki?
Dude, can you
my
imagine?
God. Like, John, I know, did the marathon of all the Die Hard movies, which sounds awful.
Oh my God.
In the
It's
theaters.
a very sad medley.
Because it just gets bad.
It's on a complete downward trajectory.
There's no peak back up. It doesn't ever
It starts high, it plateaus at decent, and then it falls off a cliff at the very end.
How is that any different from binging a season of television?
I did a 23 on the road to Endgame. I was at the LCAP for 3.5 days.
Wow.
I watched every movie that led to Endgame, and I presented 4 of them for days.
Yeah.
People would watch the 12 hours that is Stranger Things.
There's got to be a way to do this.
Let's do Real Rejects.
This would be like
TV.
This would be
dude.
like our Matt Damon, Ben Affleck weird
100%.
project.
This is our artist equity.
This is
like,
what we got to do.
Let's get things in theaters, especially if we've already reacted to it.
Because I think people would love to do that. They would absolutely love to go to the theaters to experience that, even if it's a comedy. Like to have the communal experience,
Especially a comedy.
Especially
if I could watch Mythic Quest with people or Ted Lasso with people.
Yeah.
I would be so much more full of joy.
I remember the Friends finale. I did watch that when it aired at home, but they played it at Universal City Walk where people were gathered together to watch it. So I can imagine like the laughter and the tears together.
I was like a child, so I was like, I always think that it doesn't exist because I don't know anyone that's a local. That's awesome.
I didn't hear the announcement. I saw the news report about it.
Because it's a local news story.
Yeah, it's a local news story. So yeah,
Dude,
like that
I don't
would
know
excite
why.
me. It is shocking. That would be the most incredible thing to watch, like all the Daredevil season 1 on the big screen, or
In a
a
heartbeat,
more
dude.
prestige show that people.
Dude, no, Daredevil would do huge.
Season 1's amazing, yeah. But I mean, that's what you could do. That I think that is a unique. We are not adjusting to the evolution of the film industry. Everyone just keeps going. We got to go back to the way it was before combat.
you have to fix it.
No, we have to. We have to evolve.
ArcLight's still closed.
Yes,
That's
evolution's
crazy. Like Arquette
such a
was
classic theater, yeah.
like that was the cinephile theater.
Yeah.
Like Nolan was there like every day.
Yeah.
Like you'd always run into Chris Nolan because that's the best theater in LA.
Evolution's important. Interstellar, like you brought up, I can never get a fucking ticket.
It sells out within minutes.
Every
time.
single time.
Yeah.
Never. And I am one of the people with a notification.
100%. 10 minutes before it goes on sale,
Yeah.
I'm ready.
Yeah. Refresh. I'm out. Like I never do. I'm not going to sit at the very front row.
And rewatching The Matrix was like just as revelatory as it was when I was 11.
Yeah.
The fact that I
Yeah.
I think it was the 20-year anniversary, and I was like, it's even more cinematically impressive. Like, why don't we just do this?
Honestly, it would make me proud. It would make me really proud if for some reason this conversation got to someone who was like, let's do
just have this
this
conversation.
Yeah, like, I would be so happy because
On the micro, it'd be fun to talk to Kevin and play something at his theater. Like we go to Jersey and just like watch a show. Like we can do that. But I want to like have people come. I want to do it like.
And with the amount of so much content, and the fact that shows are now looked at as content, like the fact of how that is the new reality that we exist in.
Yeah.
This is a way to preserve something feeling special and giving back that communal experience. More people will show up for a re-release than studios realize.
Yeah.
Like, do they not realize that? Like people
Anya
show
had never seen
all the
Spider-Man.
time for re-releases.
We watched all the Spider-Mans.
in the theaters when they re-released them, right?
Anya had never seen them.
And they barely
So I got to
advertised
watch
them.
all three Tobys, both Andrews, all the Toms. I got to watch all of them with her for the first time in theaters. Why is that not more common? They have empty houses.
So yeah, if they're already doing the re-release model, like they're doing that more often already in theaters like AMC.
Yeah.
Constantly are re-releasing stuff with no promo, but they're constantly re-releasing stuff.
Yeah, I'll open the app and be like, that's playing.
Yeah, sometimes I'll just check once a month, be like, oh, okay. Like Olivia loves Halloween Town, so for Halloween we went to go see Halloween Town theaters, and that's what I'm talking about. That's a Disney Channel original movie. That's not a
Which means the
theatrical.
licensing had to cover TV.
Exactly. And
It is possible.
The fact that's exactly my point is like, why are we doing this for like these films that are clearly shot to be cinematic experience?
I watched my UFC fights live at the theater. They have
cool.
live streaming. And that's a TV license. I literally watched the fights 100 feet tall, and it's so brutal. Why, if that's possible, why not?
That's what I mean. The theater experience, we have to bring a new kind of theater experience. We do. We have to. That's the only way we do it. This whole thing of like, we got to go back to the way it was. I'm like, we're not going to. We're not. Plain and simple, we're not.
Do you know David Urevsky, director? He did Brightburn.
He has a new movie coming out.
David Yarovesky.
Yeah, he's got a movie coming out called Locked.
Yeah.
I went and saw it yesterday in
was it?
theaters. Dude, it's so fun. It's
Looked
like
fun.
a 70s exploitation
It's funny,
film.
I just learned about it super late last night when I was working.
I was watching
I was
it
working
then.
on the upload schedule and I was trying to
that's
figure
really
out
funny.
like what's coming out this week. Yeah.
He's like a friend of a friend of a friend, so I wanted to go support it. So I went and saw it in theaters at like his screening. Like he had a little friends and family screening, and I went and saw it yesterday at AMC. And he was saying in front of the screening at the AMC that it was a movie that everyone was pushing to go to streaming, and he fought for this to see it on an AMC screen in this way, and now it's getting a theatrical release, and it took an extra year.
Oh,
but he was
must be
willing
good.
to, yeah. But like he had to fight for that because everyone kept describing it as a streaming movie. And I was like, what if there's a shorter theatrical window, but the streaming exclusives then have their theatrical and then go like, what if Netflix movies that play in iPix play in AMCs, but they just have like a window? Because his movie felt like a movie, like it felt like a theater experience. But I could also see people then rediscovering it on streaming because it does work for both mediums.
Yeah.
And I was like, what if we split the difference? Like we got to find a way to keep both alive.
Yeah.
And that's what you're saying is like, it doesn't need to just go back to the way it was, but it can't keep going the way it is.
No.
So like seeing that in theaters, I was like, he's defending streaming having merit while also going, this is how I want it. And then the movie felt like, dude, it was like Saw meets Buried in a car.
That's fun.
It was crazy.
You have just described the exact movie for me.
You are going to love it, dude. I had such a weird, great time. I kept being like, what is this?
But it looks like kinetic and fun.
Oh yeah, it's and it's Skarsgård and Sir Anthony Hopkins.
Yeah. I think Skarsgård, man,
It's on a run.
he's a talent.
Yeah.
Anyway, I feel better.
I wanted to end on an up note, so I just started yelling.
I feel better. I started yelling. Do you feel better now?
Is this good?
I do have a little bit of fun data for you here at the end of just films adapted from Television series, of course, you guys mentioned Mission Impossible, which is a great example of that. The most recent, I feel like, franchises that would have popped off, you're probably looking at like a 21 Jump Street in 2012 or A-Team in 2010. The most recent start looks like it would be The Equalizer, which 2014 was the first movie adaptation, 2023 the most recent. But if you want to talk just recent, Downton Abbey had a theatrically released movie in 2022, as did Bob's Burgers.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's where I got
Simpsons
an
in
allergic
the
reaction
2000s.
and had to leave the
You had
theater.
to leave.
Yeah.
And of course, there are those
Ironic.
Paw Patrol movies everyone loves.
Oh, Paw Patrol's always popping. I forgot that was a show. So yeah, there is precedent, but we got to get the actual shows in there.
We're running out of classic, prolific, like still noteworthy TV series. I
You
think.
know what I would love to see in a theater? Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Like that
The
would be
Gang
so.
makes a movie.
Yeah, like I would love to see the movie episode, like where they just go all out and make a cinema, because they're all like movie stars now.
I never come up with like spec scripts for shows. I have one for It's Always Sunny in
Yeah?
Philadelphia that I'm like, it doesn't matter when they do this one, it would work. And I would love to, if I ever like got serious about, I want to try to pitch this.
That's fun.
I have one. I'll tell you when the camera's done rolling. Because
Does Drinking Kid have a cameo?
yeah, I would love to give myself a cameo again.
Yes, episode 3.
The whole episode revolves around me.
Is it episode 3?
You changed my life at that party.
Every few videos, I'll see that comment. I'll see every so often I'll see someone be like, "I'm watching Always Sunny. This guy looks just like Greg Alba," and I was like, "Well, the thing about that is."
It is. Anyway, guys, yeah, I feel great now. Like that idea really excited me. I'm
Dude,
like,
let's
shit,
find
that
a
would-
way.
how do you do that? Like, if there was a way to really crack that code, that
There's
would
a
be,
ton of empty theaters in LA. I've got a list. I've been trying to do this for a while.
yeah. What is the? Because there's two versions we're talking about here. There's one is like, how do we get IMAX play IMAX movies, and the other one is how do you get like streaming shows to or classic TV to have special events?
I would buy a multi-house theater and convert one to IMAX.
Yeah, but it's like, what's the business aspect to? You know, we're at Multi-House. We should talk to Michael.
Talk to Michael.
Michael's the guy to talk to. Who pulled
Dude,
this
how
off.
much fun would it be to run a theater?
It would be really cool, and I'd like, and we would love to just do shit for ourselves.
Dude, we could set up cameras and we could watch the stuff we're reacting to in the proper format.
I wouldn't mind if it's just like a nonprofit in a way, where it's like this literally just goes to keep this theater alive.
Yeah,
you know.
a lot of the theaters I support are directly just to keep it open. Like it's a whatever that registration is, 951 nonprofit. Like that's doable.
Yeah, the Heroes Registration, the
Yeah, the Registration Act.
Registration Act.
Kamala Khan.
Sokovia, of course. Anyway, guys, I thought we were gonna wrap this up like 5 minutes after the Marvel leaks, but then we just found life.
Yeah,
so
that's
we-
what this show's about. Life finds a way.
Thanks, John, again for manning down the complicated tech and always discovering new problems to solve. I appreciate it.
Anytime.
Coy, thank you so much for the wonderful conversation.
Always love being here. This is my favorite show of the week.
Yeah, no, I look forward to. I really look forward to filming. And normally we take like 20 minutes to get going, but we just sat down. Sat down. went to-
I'm going out of town, so this is there's a little gap.
It's true. I'm gonna have people fill in for you.
Let's see how they do.
Let's have a child.
Yeah, actually, that'd be funny as hell.
So
Some precocious little kid. You should have Vivian Blair.
Yeah.
Dude, she speaks as well as I do, or better.
Really, fan, you're a fucking smart child.
She's so put her in, coach. But yeah, so I won't be here next week, you lovelies. I'll be back very soon, but I'm taking a long planned trip. Very excited about it.
Yeah. Anyway, guys, we'll see you guys soon. Thanks, Reject Nation.